Have you ever wondered how we transitioned from an agrarian society to an industrial one? Let's take a step back into the late 18th century, a time when the world was on the brink of an unprecedented transformation, the Industrial Revolution. This was not a change that occurred overnight, but rather, it was a gradual shift born out of a confluence of various factors. Firstly, there were significant advancements in agriculture. Innovations such as the seed drill and crop rotation led to increased food production, which in turn supported a burgeoning population. This population growth created a surplus of labor, ready to be employed in new industrial ventures. Secondly, the accessibility to vast natural resources, particularly coal and iron, provided the raw materials necessary for the machinery and infrastructure that would come to define this era. Lastly, a network of trade routes allowed for the exchange of goods and ideas, further fueling the fire of industrial progress. So it was a combination of various factors that ushered in this era of change. At the heart of the Industrial Revolution was a powerful invention, the steam engine. This marvel of engineering was brought to life by a Scottish inventor named James Watt. His creation was no ordinary machine. It harnessed the might of heated water, transforming it into mechanical energy and, in turn, changed the world. The steam engine revolutionized industry, making it possible to power large factories and mills. It accelerated production, turning raw materials into finished goods at an unprecedented rate. But the influence of the steam engine didn't stop at the factory gates. It extended its reach to transportation and agriculture, driving locomotives across continents and powering farming machines, drastically improving efficiency and output. In essence, the steam engine was the key that unlocked a new era, an era of mass production and global trade. It was the heartbeat of the Industrial Revolution, pumping energy into every facet of life, turning the wheels of progress. Indeed, the steam engine was the driving force of the Industrial Revolution. As the power of steam took hold, another revolution was taking place, the shift from cottage industries to factories. This transition was a game changer. It was like replacing your local bakery with a bread-making factory. Suddenly, instead of a handful of loaves, you had hundreds. The factory system ushered in a new era of mechanization and division of labor, significantly increasing both productivity and output. Imagine the loom, once worked by skilled hands in a home setting. Now it was part of a sprawling factory floor operated by many hands, each performing a specific task. It was the birth of assembly line production. These factories became hives of activity, buzzing around the clock, churning out goods at an unprecedented rate. This evolution wasn't without its challenges. Issues like worker rights and safety came to the fore, but there's no denying the monumental impact of this shift. Factories became the new workplaces, forever transforming production. With factories came cities, and with cities came a whole new way of life. The Industrial Revolution triggered a massive shift in population dynamics. As factories began to sprout up like mushrooms after rain, they lured people from the countryside with the promise of steady work. This migration, often referred to as urbanization, resulted in the rapid growth of cities. Imagine, if you will, a world where in just a few decades, small towns transformed into bustling urban centers. Skyscrapers replaced farmhouses, and streets echoed with the cacophony of industry rather than the tranquility of nature. This wasn't just a change of scenery, it was a seismic shift in lifestyle. As these urban populations swelled, new social classes emerged. The wealthy industrialists, the striving middle class, and the working poor began to define the urban landscape. This was the dawn of the modern city as we know it today, a product of the Industrial Revolution. It was a time of immense social change. The Industrial Revolution was not just about steam, but also about coal and iron. These two resources played pivotal roles in fueling the transformation of societies in the 18th and 19th centuries. Coal, a black sedimentary rock, was the primary source of energy during this time. It powered the steam engines that drove the Industrial Revolution forward, from factories to railways and even steamships. But let's not forget about iron. This abundant element was the raw material that made mass production possible. Iron, when combined with carbon to form steel, was used in the construction of machinery, tools, and infrastructure. It was the skeleton that held the body of the Industrial Revolution together. Without coal, there would be no steam power. Without iron, there would be no machinery or infrastructure. The two were intertwined, each fueling the other's importance in this period of rapid industrial growth. Coal and iron were the lifeblood of the Industrial Revolution. The Industrial Revolution also brought about a revolution in transportation. The world began to shrink as the ability to move goods, people, and ideas around the globe improved significantly. Canals were dug, connecting rivers and lakes, creating a network of waterways that allowed for the efficient transport of heavy goods. This was a game changer for commerce. Then came the railways, another monumental leap. The steam engine, the superstar of the Industrial Revolution, found its second home on the tracks. Trains could move faster and carry more than any horse-drawn carriage, and they weren't limited by the capriciousness of weather or the need for rest. Finally, the steamship. Initially used for river and canal transport, they eventually took to the seas, connecting continents. The world was no longer a series of isolated landmasses, but a connected global community. The transportation revolution turned the impossible into the everyday, bringing distant corners of the world within reach. Transportation was never the same again. The Industrial Revolution, for all its benefits, had its share of drawbacks. The allure of better job opportunities in bustling cities led to urban overcrowding. Living quarters were cramped, sanitation was poor, and diseases spread rapidly, making life in the cities a grim reality for many. Work conditions in the factories were far from ideal. Long hours, low wages, and unsafe environments were commonplace. Child labor was rampant. The dream of a better life often turned into a struggle for survival. The environment, too, paid a heavy price. Smokestacks belched out clouds of soot and ash, polluting the air and darkening city skies. Rivers turned into toxic streams, tainted with industrial waste. The demand for raw materials led to the rampant exploitation of natural resources, stripping landscapes bare and altering ecosystems. The Industrial Revolution was not without its costs. The progress and prosperity it brought were often overshadowed by the social and environmental consequences. The Industrial Revolution also gave birth to a new economic system, capitalism. This system took root during the Industrial Revolution and was marked by private ownership, free markets, and the relentless pursuit of profit. But what role did capitalism play in this revolutionary era? Well, capitalism provided the fuel for the rapid industrial growth we witnessed. It encouraged competition, which in turn sparked innovation. The desire to outperform competitors led to the development of new technologies, more efficient production methods, and the expansion of markets. Industrial capitalists became the driving force of economic growth. They invested heavily in factories, machinery, and labor, creating jobs and boosting the economy. Their wealth enabled them to influence policies, shaping the economic landscape to favor industrial growth. Capitalism, however, was not without its critics. Its emphasis on profit often overlooked workers' rights and environmental considerations. But that's a story for another time. Thus, the Industrial Revolution paved the way for the rise of capitalism. The Industrial Revolution also sparked a fight for workers' rights. As factories boomed and cities expanded, working conditions often became harsh and inhumane. Long hours, low wages, and dangerous environments were the grim reality for many. In response, labor movements began to rise, voicing the struggles of the working class. These movements were integral in forming trade unions, organizations that represented the workers and strived to negotiate better conditions and wages. These unions became the voice of the workers, pushing back against the might of the industrial capitalists. Strikes became a common tool, a powerful demonstration of the workers' unity and discontent. These protests often led to clashes, but they were crucial in highlighting the plight of the workers, forcing society and lawmakers to pay attention. Legislative reforms slowly began to change the landscape. Laws were enacted to limit working hours, improve safety standards, and raise wages. The fight for workers' rights was a defining aspect of the Industrial Revolution. The Industrial Revolution did not stop at the borders of industrialized nations. Its influence extended far beyond, igniting a global transformation. The steam engine and the spinning jenny didn't just shift the gears of Europe and America, they set the wheels in motion for a worldwide change. The revolution sparked a wave of imperialism and colonialism, as industrialized nations began to seek new territories, resources, and markets to fuel their expansion. Nations that had powered up their factories with the might of steam and coal were now setting their sights on distant lands, driving a race for resources and dominance. This epoch was not just about the rise of factories, steam power, and railroads. It was also about the spread of ideas, cultures, and economic models. It was the dawn of globalization, the interconnection of the world's economies, cultures, and populations. The Industrial Revolution truly changed the world.